Okay, welcome everybody. I think we can get started now. So my name is Beth Fisher Yoshida. I am the Program Director of the Master of Science in Negotiation and Conflict Resolution. Welcome to our information session. This is a brief overview about the flow of how we're going to be spending time together during this information session. This is the welcome. And then I'll show you the next slide in a minute about who the program leadership are, because we have quite a nice team. And then we'll give you a program overview, including some high-level curriculum information. You'll hear from a student. And then when we finish that part, which also will include some Q&A, we'll move into the admissions process. So for those of you who want more specific information about applying to the program, please stay on, and our recruitment advisor, David, will talk with you afterwards, and then you'll have another opportunity for Q&A. And during the time of our webinar, if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box, and we'll be happy to address it later, or you can do that later as well. So as I mentioned, I'm the program director. I am also a professor of practice in the program. We have a faculty member, Peter Dixon, who is an associate professor of practice in the program. We have the deputy program director, Kirsten Pugh, associate director of administration, Sharon. And as I mentioned, David Taylor-Tumilty is the assistant director for recruitment and admissions. Then we have Andy Hummer, who is our senior advisor, and he's the person who advises all the students in the program. And then the Career Design Lab, we have Nicole Arndt is our point person for that. So if you have career-specific questions, in addition to talking with me about them, you can also speak with Nicole. So a little bit about me. It's all here, there's a lot of information there. But basically, my entree into the field of negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building is through intercultural communications and intercultural conflict. I lived in Japan for quite a while, and through that experience, I sort of got into the field a very long time ago, and I've stayed in the field, and I'm very thankful I'm in the field for all the wonderful things I've learned and are able to practice in my everyday communications, which you will too. You can always ask me more questions about my background and what I do at another time, but let's focus on the program for now. So next slide. Okay, and the next, good. So when we think about what is negotiation and conflict resolution, many people can make assumptions about what it is. The way we look at it is that we are focusing on forging and stewarding successful relationships, and at many different levels. That's our original social psychological orientation between people, communities, organizations, and systemically, even on a broader scale. We analyze the root causes and dynamics of conflict, because you really need to understand what are the underlying issues before you can address them. Then we think about transforming what those needs are and fulfilling them through reasoned and resourceful interventions. And then at the end of the day, identifying sustainable strategies, because you want to sustain the impact that you've had or the change that you've had, not necessarily the same intervention, because as situations change, you have to update, right, the interventions that you have there. So that's our general focus, and we do that in a lot of different ways through a lot of different courses. Next slide. So here we have also some of the high-level program features, and it really is very dynamic, very industry-driven. Our faculty are always coming together and saying, what's going on in the field, what's leading edge, what do we need to know, what do we need to integrate into our program? We do that through a variety of ways. It can be with special topics classes, it can be through events that we have, through invited speakers, other specialists in the field. We really do have a constructive communication orientation. It's not only what the message is per se, but it's how you're saying it, how you're delivering the message, how tailored, how specific, how audience oriented is it. And we really do have a faculty, a wonderful faculty of world-class scholar practitioners. Every faculty member in the program is doing something in addition to teaching in the program. They're actively working in the field, and all that rich experience is constantly coming into the program, so a constant flow of all of that information. Very practical tools and frameworks, and we like to think that we're being very supportive. You always have conversations with lots of different faculty members as you wish. All faculty members have office hours, and we have a series of advisors as well. And then once you graduate, you become an alum, and then you become part of our alumni network. We have way over 600 alum all around the world right now, and constantly growing, which is wonderful. Next slide. Here you can see a mosaic of our faculty, and they all have very interesting backgrounds from a variety of disciplines. We can go to the next slide and see just a sampling of, I mean, I think we need to probably update this, but just look at the vast array of topics in which our faculty either have studied, and that's their educational background and discipline, and what they're working in. And you can see that all of this is integrated into the program. I think everything I'm looking at here in some way or another can get mentioned in the program. Some of this can be topics for their capstone process, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Francesca, who's a current student in the program. And we thought, not only listen to the program director, but listen to the real deal, a student in the program, and she will share with you some of her experiences thus far. So Francesca?
Yeah, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I hope you can all hear me well. My name is Francesca, and I'm so grateful to be here today. A huge thank you, first of all, to Sharon, Tristan, and David for facilitating this webinar, and to our program director, Professor Fisher Yoshida, for her leadership and support. So, I'd love to start by sharing a bit about my background and my journey to Colombia. So I'm an international student, originally from a small town in southern Italy. And at the age of 13, I made the decision to move abroad for my studies. And I spent several years living in China, where I became fluent in both Mandarin and English. And I then moved to the United Arab Emirates, where I completed my undergraduate studies at New York University, Abu Dhabi, earning a double major in political science and legal studies. And during my time in the Middle East, I was fortunate enough to be mentored by incredible women in the legal field, all of whom were US barred attorneys. And I would say their guidance and expertise, sort of combined with my academic focus on US law, solidified my decision to pursue law school in the United States. But after graduating, I didn't feel ready to take that next step. I wanted to build a stronger foundation before law school, not just by taking a gap year or working, but by actually immersing myself in a program that would truly prepare me for the challenges ahead. And conflict resolution, after all, is the ABC of becoming a lawyer in the legal profession. And so I knew that mastering it would be invaluable to my future. And that's what led me to Columbia's NECR program. And honestly, I couldn't have made a better choice. They're not paying me for this, so this comes from my heart. But yeah, so I'm now in my second semester here at Columbia. I started my program in August 2024, so last year. I'm a full-time student and I will be graduating this August. By the way, this is one of the many pathways you can decide to take if you're planning to be a full-time student, and we will be talking about the different pathways you can choose from later today. And so one of the things I love the most about the NECR program, I guess, is that helps, like it's sort of like it goes beyond just teaching conflict resolution skills. It actually places a strong emphasis on self-awareness. Like among the foundational courses that you will be taking here, there is one that every student must take before graduating, which is intrapersonal dynamics. This course, for example, is incredibly powerful because it challenges you to actually reflect on your own biases, both conscious and unconscious, while also exploring what triggers you, what motivates you, and ultimately, I would say your why, not just in this program, but in life. And I firmly believe that obviously self discovery and self awareness are lifelong commitments. And this program sort of gives you a solid foundation to start that journey. And another aspect of the program that I absolutely love is the capstone project. So throughout this journey, and we will talk about this later today, you take three foundational courses, which guide you in developing a research-based project that is deeply personal and professionally relevant to whatever it is that you are interested in. So you get to write five different chapters focusing on a conflict or a dispute that you are passionate about solving. And I think what makes this experience so rewarding is that it's very hands-on and very practical. Like one of my favorite parts of the process is learning and brainstorming about intervention strategies. And I'm doing this right now this semester with Professor Dixon, where you don't just analyze a conflict, but actually propose real actionable solutions, and you explore key stakeholders, examine power dynamics, and then position yourself as an active agent of change, which I think it's a privilege and it's very interesting. For example, for my capstone, I chose to focus on a topic that truly resonates with me, the intersection of technology and intellectual property rights. And so I'm looking at this an ongoing lawsuit happening. And through my research, I have been able to apply conflict resolution principles that I'm learning in class at the same time to real world legal and technological disputes, which I think is very interesting. And one of, I would say, the program's biggest strengths is its flexibility. Like alongside core courses here within the NECR program, students can also take different electives from across Columbia, including not just SBS, so not only School of Professional Studies, but also at the law school, the business school, and other graduate programs. And so this definitely allows you, I would say, to personalize your academic experience. And in terms of student life, so there's obviously Columbia is a vibrant campus, and there are several student groups covering everything from photography to dance to religious studies. And the NECR program actually has also anchors, which stands for Association of Negotiation and Conflict Resolution, which is basically a student-led association which organizes academic events to discuss conflict resolution theory, and you get to be a research officer, or you could just get to be like very I would say involved. And the last two things that I would like to talk about, I know that we will be talking about this later, but the NACR's strong alumni network, I think, is truly an incredible resource through Kirsten, who connects usually NACR students with alumni. For example, I was introduced to professionals in the legal field who helped me navigate my career path. And I even had the opportunity through some connections that I made to audit a Columbia Law School class, negotiation class, where I negotiated alongside 3L law students, so students at the law school in their third year. And I guess that was like very, very interesting. Like I absolutely love that. And that was thanks to the connection that I made through our alumni's network. And one last thing I would say, um, I think Columbia, specifically the NECR program, provides fantastic career and professional development support. And I would say the weekly Tuesday updates that Sharon always so nicely puts together every a week. It's a personalized newsletter that it's only basically tailored and personalized for the NECR program. And it's very it's amazing, and it keeps students informed about internships, conferences, and events. And I recently received thanks to this Tuesday updates and all the events, the SBS Excellence and Academic Award, which fully funds student attendance at conferences. And so thanks to this support, I'll be traveling this week to Harvard Law School and no personal cost to attend an AI negotiation conference with Professor Yoshida and Professor Dixon too. And I guess this funding really was important for this to happen, and also the conference. So yeah, that's all for me. If you have any questions, you're always free to reach out to me via LinkedIn, or I'm not sure if we're allowed to share our email, but I'm more than happy to share that with you. And I hope that was helpful.
Thank you, Francesca. Yes, you can be our advertisement for the program. That was wonderful. And it is true that depending on your own orientation and what you want to gain from the program, the Tuesday updates does list all different kinds of opportunities, such as conference attendance, internships, and things like that, research projects, and so on. And so you make the program your own. You tailor it to yourself. You make it as much as what you want it to be, because we give you those opportunities as well and support you in that. So the next slide. Here is a template with some tiles of alumni. I'm going to let Kirsten say something about this, and she heads up the alumni portion of our program.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for everyone who's joining us today. Our alumni network is quite phenomenal because it spans the globe, and we have alumni who are in all different professions, fields, stages of their careers as well. And so, as you can see on the screen, this is just a very, very small sampling of 6 alumni out of a network, as Beth said, of over 600. So we have alumni who are in finance, in law, in government, in community relations, and HR, and everywhere else, because all of our alumni are really interested in, using the program to either advance their career or do a career pivot as well. And Francesca, thank you so much for sharing about your experience with our alumni, because they're also always very eager and enthusiastic to give back and to connect with our students. So we have this networking that starts as soon as you become a new student.
Thank you. Go to the next slide. So one of the other things that's wonderful about the program is that we're not just isolated at the university. We have a network across the university, which gives Columbia University a very strong foundation in conflict resolution. So I'm going to start with the item in the middle, which is the MDI CCCR. And there was somebody named Morton Deutsch, who's a preeminent social psychologist, who founded the center in the 1980s. He came to Columbia in the 1960s from Bell Labs. And I used to work at the center, and the center is very much a partner in co-creating the program. This program is now completing its 17th year, but again, built on the foundation of conflict resolution since the 1960s when Mort came. And the MDI CCCR conducts research. They also teach some classes at TC. We do have some joint classes together with people there, and that's been a wonderful collaboration. And some of the faculty teach in both the ICCCR certificate and in our program. And then on the left, you can see AC4, which started a year after our program, so it's in its 16th year. It's situated at the Climate School, which used to be the Earth Institute. And AC4 is a consortium. It's a hub across the university for different activities related to conflict resolution, nonviolence, and sustainability, especially because it's at the Climate School. Our part, AC4 in the Climate School, is really talking about sustainable peace. We also have projects that focus on research, environment, women, and youth. And then on the right side, one of our newer partners is the Center for Justice, and that is situated in the psychology program of Arts and Sciences. We've always had a social justice orientation, but it wasn't as developed until the past couple of years. We're developing it more and more, so that you'll see when we get to the curriculum part, we have a whole section on social justice related courses that you can take. So very rich experience at the university beyond the program. Next now. So in the curriculum, there are core courses, and then there are many courses that you can choose from. So in our core courses, we have 4 and then 3 in the capstone. So the 4, Understanding Conflict and Cooperation, is a foundational theory course. It's kind of a survey of different theories in the field. You take that at the beginning. Introduction to Negotiation is a combination of theory and practice. You do a lot of role plays to start to develop your skills at negotiation, and I would say maybe not only start to, but build on the skills you've already developed, or correct the ones that are not working so well for you. Francesca mentioned interpersonal dynamic and conflict, and the interpersonal dynamic and conflict course is foundational, which really helps you get a much deeper sense as to who you are and what you're bringing to the table when you enter into any kind of conversation. And then dynamical systems, so it's conflict resolution. Dynamical systems takes a systemic approach. So it's a way of expanding your view of conflict from just cause and effect. Then the 3 courses in the capstone, you start out with an analysis, you move on to designing interventions, and then you move on to making recommendations that sustain the change that you're working on. You start out with, I think we have the next slide, some capstone courses, maybe afterwards, I'll talk more about capstone. So you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So here we have the 3 groupings of courses that we offer. So you saw that there were 21 credits core, and now we have 15 credits, of which you can choose, right? So we have a variety of 3 credit offerings, and what we're doing now, in addition to this, all the courses related to systems work, skills building, and social justice, is we have every semester, I should say maybe the fall and spring mostly, we have these 1.5 credit offerings, which are special topics. So this gives us a chance to constantly evolve and offer things that are maybe one-off because it's current at the moment and we have a big demand for it. If it's super popular and there's a further demand, we make it a regular course. So you can take 15 credits, a combination of maybe 5 3-credit courses, or take some of those 3 credits and divide them into a couple of 1.5 credits. And this is part of the adaptability and flexibility that we're talking about, is you create your own path here after the core courses, which is almost half the program, which is fabulous. In addition to choosing from this wide selection that we have, and we're also very good about promoting and publicizing what these courses are, so you know well in advance of registration, so you can really start to plan, in addition to planning when you first get to the program, which is great, but then also it changes, because then you start talking to other students, and they tell you their experience in different classes, and you say, ooh, I think I want that class instead of this. You have that flexibility. You can take up to 9 credits outside of the NECR program. That could be in other programs in the School of Professional Studies where we are, or in other schools with permission. So that means we have some pre-approved classes. We say, sure, go ahead and go take that class. Or if not, you tell us, hey, this is a course that's really meaningful to me, and here's why, and show me the syllabus, I approve it. And then also, if the other school is receiving students from outside that program. Every program at the university privileges their students first, just like we privilege you first as a student. So we want to make sure you have a slot in the courses you want to take, and then we also open our courses to other students, which also enriches the conversation, because now you get to see from different perspectives, which is fun. Excuse me, go ahead. This is the capstone I was talking about. So you start out with a case study, either an international case study, an organizational conflict, or community-based. You take the first class, which really digs down to talk about the research and analysis. What's the data? How do I analyze it? You learn a variety of conflict analysis tools. Then in the second course, you say, okay, I've surfaced the needs of various actors in the first course. I go into the second course and I design an intervention or 2 or 3 to very specifically meet the needs. You don't want to just throw stuff there because it sounds good or you like that intervention. It has to meet the need of the actors who you identified through your conflict analysis. Then you do that and you move into designing sustainability measures and then presentation and a wonderful document. We have had people from the program who've used their capstones to help identify further studies that they wanted to take or job opportunities. We have had people grab a marker and go up on a whiteboard in an interview and use some of the conflict analysis tools to show and demonstrate their ability at analysis. And if you know, a buzzword around the world today is analysis, right? So you want to show that you have competence in different kinds of analytical tools, which just makes you more viable in the job market. Next slide. So if you start full-time in the fall, in person, you'd have a total of 12 courses unless you do that 1.5 credit variety. You complete it in 3 or 4 semesters, which could be fall, spring, summer, or fall, spring, summer, fall. It's up to you. And then per course, we estimate that you have 6 to 10 hours per week, which means outside reading, maybe you do assignments, maybe you meet with a group, because a lot of courses have group work. Next slide. And this is what it might look like, where the green colored bars are the core courses and the blue are the electives. However, because some electives are only offered in the fall or only offered in the spring or only offered in the summer, and there's one you want to take that's not in this sequencing, we work with you to make sure that this course is available to you. Next slide. And here's another 3 terms. Let's just say you don't want to take classes in the summer. Maybe you want to do an internship full-time, or maybe you want to go somewhere else and work or travel or go home. Then you take fall, spring, and the following fall, completing your coursework in December, and then you walk in May. Next slide. Now, if you are full-time in 4 terms, here's what the flow could look like again. Taking classes in the summer, right? So the one we showed before was no summer. Here you do have a summer. Maybe you're doing an internship in New York, so you can still take courses, or maybe you're doing an internship somewhere else and there's a course online you'd like to take, you can do that. Next. If you are going to wait and start in the spring, then we have an online with an in-person residency. Our courses are a combination of asynchronous with some synchronous sessions, and then you come to campus for 10 days to 3 weeks, up to you if you want to take some electives, and you have classes in person. Again, the same 12 courses, unless you do the 1.5 credit variety. You're completing it in 4 semesters, which is spring, summer, fall, spring, and again, the same amount of estimated work per week in your outside assignments. Next slide. And this is what it looks like for the flow. We've organized again with some flexibility. You start in the spring with 3 courses online. You're also building community with people who you get to meet in the summer, and it's like you've known them your whole life because of what you're doing online. And then you get to hang out with them in person during the courses here. And the way we structure some of our electives in the summer is to give these online students an opportunity to stay and take some of these other electives, to complete them in person, not only online. You come back for classes in the fall and then in the spring. But you also do have some online courses that you're taking in the summer after your summer residency, when you're back home. Next slide. And again, if it's part-time, which I've showed all the full-time until now, now let's just say, you know what? I work full-time, I need a part-time option, or I'm a Columbia University employee, I need a part-time option. Same 12 courses, you can complete it in 4 to 6 semesters, same amount of work per week that you're having, and I'll show what the flow would look like here. Yeah, so here, let's just say we have a 6-semester spread. Typically, when people are part-time, like really part-time, they take 2 classes a semester. And you can see that in the fall, we prefer you start with the 2 core courses. In the spring, you might have some electives. In the 3rd semester, depending on when you take it, you can start your capstone process, also do intro to negotiation. And then you see how this flows through, where you have your electives, where you have your core courses, again, with some level of flexibility depending on what you want and when it's being offered. The one thing to note is that when we are showing the flow that we're showing, be it part-time or full-time, we make sure those courses are always available that particular semester. When you go off sequence, then we have to really work carefully with you to make sure that when you want a course, it's being offered so that there's synchronous there. All right, so let's look at the Q&A. And I think I don't see any in the chat, in the Q&A box, but if somebody wants to write in a question they may have, if it's admission specific, just wait a little bit longer and then David will take over. But if it's more content of the program or something about faculty or something else, please write your question in now. I'll give you a minute or so to do that, and then we're happy to answer them. What are the most common careers pursued with use of this degree? You know, it's hard to say because it depends on what your focus is. We have, I mentioned the capstone case studies. We have some people who are already in work and just want to advance in their careers. We have some people who are starting careers. There are a core group of people who move on to other degrees. They might do a law degree, they might do an MPA, they might do something in environmental, something like that, or they may go on to a PhD. We have a whole other group of people who want to work in the international NGO realm. They might do an internship at the UN, they might work with one of those UN-related agencies or an NGO. We have people who want to teach or do community work, they go on to do jobs there, or they work in an organizational context. Whatever job you want, you pair it with this degree and you're just, I think, doing it better. Why are you doing it better? Because every job you have, no matter what your career, you're going to be working with other people. And if you want to work effectively with other people, you're going to need to know conflict resolution and negotiation skills. Point blank. When I consult and I'm going into an organization to deal with organizational conflict, it's because they don't know or didn't have the skill set or the capacity to deal with it on their own. If you're going in, you can already be more effective in what you're doing, and who doesn't want to be effective at the end of the day, right? So I hope that answers your question. If I take the online route, could I be a full-time student during the summer? Yes. It's up to you, right? How much you want to do. We have different summer sessions. Our summer sessions start just after Memorial Day typically, so like the end of May, and go through probably mid-August. So the different sessions in there, depending. What I didn't talk about here was also the fieldwork courses. We have wonderful courses in the summer where people can take trip somewhere. This particular summer in 25, we're offering Japan, which is environmental focus. We're offering Colombia, which is a peace building focus. And then we also have one in New York City, which is a social justice focus. For online students, you can come and take the peace working course as one of your electives and just meet us in the country where the course is being offered. I am currently an undergraduate student majoring in physics. Without work experience, is it possible for me to be admitted? Yes, ideally you will have some kind of an internship that shows some experience in this field. If not, then your statement, your professional and personal statement, will give a strong case as to why you want this degree, and well, anybody should do that anyway, why you want this degree and how you think this degree is going to be helpful to you. So we want to see that. When we're reading, we have an admissions committee, which I am on. When we read your statements, we want to understand how this is going to fit in your life. Even if you don't know specifically everything you're doing. I mean, I certainly didn't when I was younger, and I'm not sure I do now either. But you want to at least have an idea about how the knowledge and skills are going to work for you. Do core classes focus on international group or interpersonal conflict? Yes, they work on all levels because you apply all of what you're learning to the conflicts that you want to study. So because I said originally Morton Deutsch was a social psychologist, we originally had a very strong, and still do, social psychological lens, which means you're working at different levels. So it could be intrapersonal, you could be having some internal conflict, interpersonal, like team, organizational, or a broader systemic way. So it does focus on all of those different levels depending on where you want your focus to be, and the examples or scenarios or cases that the faculty use. I'm a mid-career professional in an international NGO, and I'm looking for a program I can do part-time while working until completion of the degree. Is there any option for that? Yes. So I don't know if you are doing an international NGO in New York or somewhere else. If you're in New York, you can do the option of either in person and come to campus in the evenings or weekends when we have our classes, or you can do the online where you can take courses wherever you want and do the work whenever you want and come to campus for the residency. So you have that option depending on where you're located. Even if you're in New York, we have people who live in New York in the tri-state area who still do the hybrid or online program because they don't or not able to come to campus and they want the flexibility of what the hybrid program offers. Does the program cover global conflict as it relates to migration, refugee crisis? Yes. And we are also looking to develop coursework in that area more specifically. And you remember that I said you can also take classes elsewhere. So if there's something we're not offering that really meets your specific need, there's a chance that course could be offered in another program or another school. And when you talk to other students who share similar interests, you'll find out about other options through them as well, including your own investigative research. Follow-up question, if I do hybrid part-time, can I pay semester by semester? You can pay, but I think that's a question that David will answer afterwards when it comes to, that's more admissions finance related than content. But in general, you don't pay for the whole degree up front anyway, you pay semester by semester. And thanks, you're welcome. Okay, let's see. Could you give more details with regards to the online part-time program? I'm working full-time in Switzerland. So typically our online program has like 3 courses or more, but we have had people who do it part-time. Again, we want to make sure there's an alignment between when you need the course and when we offer the course. So we work with you to plan out your whole schedule. The main idea is that we want to accommodate as much as possible while maintaining the integrity of the program, integrity of the learning. We want to accommodate adult learners who have lives outside the program and who are able to take the classes. When I went back to school for my master's, my first master's, my second master's, and my doctorate, I needed flexibility in my program too. So that's an integral part of the program that we made sure we have there. And again, we do have things standardized, but we also work to provide that adaptability to each individual need as much as possible. Very much agree. All jobs have conflict and negotiations. I guess you're speaking from experience, right? I am wondering, what are some mindsets or characteristics of students who seem to enjoy and be successful in the program? Mindset, and I will ask other people to comment on this mindset, open to learning, open to being vulnerable, because you know what? If you're very guarded and defensive, you're missing an opportunity to share in the learning. People who are very interested in their own individual advancement, but also appreciate the value of learning with and from others, because not only are the faculty wonderful, I think our faculty are great and have so much expertise, but so do the students. You know, I've seen so many students come through the program, like they blow me away how talented and wonderful and smart and funny and charming they are. And then from alumni, they go out into the world and do amazing things. But I'm going to ask Francesca to jump in here too. Francesca, from your experience as a student, what's helped you learn well in the program, and what have you noticed about others too?
Definitely a lot of curiosity, I would say. You need to be curious about things that you're studying. You need to be curious about actually learning new things. And I guess you have to be very open-minded. And sometimes it's easy to feel like polarized, for example, in some like specific things that you're studying. But it's very like you have to be able to be engaged in a conversation and listen, truly listen, actively listen to other people too. So if you have these qualities, I think you're going to do great in the program. And I have many friends in my cohort who are, by the way, professionals already, and others who are yeah, coming right out of undergrad, and we all share, I would say, the same set of like values. I would say, like we're all open to listen one another, we're open to engage in meaningful conversations and to actually put ourselves out there and question our just I would say like our like awareness. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Francesca. The other thing I would add to that is coming to the program, it's like a laboratory. You can just experiment with different approaches. You can learn, like I said, be vulnerable, which is less risky than out in the world. Like if you're in your job, you're not going to start experimenting with different types of approaches to dealing with people in conflict, because that can have deeper consequences than you can in the class. In class, we expect you to learn. We expect people to make mistakes, but try and learn from that as well. How is the core? Yeah, so I would say that some of the core values, principles, and concepts in the program have not changed. How we use them and apply them, we continue to refine. How we offer more variety of contexts, like different kinds of situations, different cases, different examples of conflicts, that has continued to advance. But the core concepts are just foundational, and those have stayed the same with adaptations and more variety as the program has gone on. We have people from early 20s through 70s in the program. I don't know where you fall on that, but it is an opportunity for people to really have a foundation for their initial career, advancing in their career, their second or third re-innovation of themselves. I think, as you know, if you look around, that retirement is a word that has a different meaning today than it used to. You know, back, I don't know when, people used to retire at 55 or 65. Today, people change careers at 65 or 70 and do something. We have people who have had very full careers, and then they want to, and not necessarily in this field, right? Then they want to give back. This is some of their terminology. They come to the program and then they start to take what they've learned in their careers and what they learn in the program and then apply it into a whole new career. So you can become a coach after this. I mean, there's no stopping until you want to stop or you need to stop, right? Okay, what a 1.5 credit course means is that it's a hot topic, a new topic, and you can combine two of these into one 3 credit offering, right? So that's what we do. So we're just trying to be current and relevant with a quicker turnaround process in being able to offer things. Universities in general are not known for expediency, but we can be with quicker course offerings that are still rigorous and still high quality, but we can turn them around faster, bring in a new variety of faculty, which is great because they may be busy in their careers, but would love an opportunity to teach at Columbia University in this NECR program. They come in and do that without a fuller commitment, unless it's a course that, like I said, really takes hold, and then we offer it more frequently. I'm currently in my final year of college and expect to graduate next year. Can I take classes or work with you once you graduate? Absolutely. But you can talk to us before that as well. Love to have you talk to us, find out more, and think about how you can start preparing yourself for the degree. Absolutely. Wow, you certainly did follow up with a lot of questions. Thank you so much for that. It got me talking. And I think we are at the point now where I'm going to transition into David taking over. David, thank you so much, because I saw that a lot of your questions also are very much in David's camp. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everybody. If you do have more questions afterwards, please feel free to reach out to us. Goodbye now.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Thank you, everyone, for staying on. So the next maybe 10 minutes or so will just be a brief overview of the admissions process. Hopefully this information will seem pretty digestible. The idea is just to bring information which you've probably seen on our website, and just to try to give you a little better contextual understanding of what you're looking at, what it means, and what it means to you. Maybe just to get started with, we are always asked about who's in this program. We saw that reflected in one of the earlier questions. I'm not going to read everything that's on this slide, but you can see here that we have a really great range of backgrounds, professionally and academically, represented across the program, across most of our intakes. So you can see people who are just coming out of their undergraduate degree, ranging through to people that are maybe in the earlier or middle stages of their career. We've got individuals who are certainly in the process of looking at a career change, as well as individuals who are later in their professional careers, and they're just taking time to come back and revisit some subjects that are of interest to them in their current line of work. So a really great breadth of diversity across the program. So I'm going to talk to you about how to get started with this application. There are two different versions of the program. We have the in-person program, and we have the online with residency program. So at the moment, we're only accepting applications for the fall 25 intake. That's the program that has an on-campus intake. Anyone that's looking at joining us for spring, where that's online with residency, that application will not be open until the end of May this year. So still a couple of months away before you can start to look at what that application looks like. So for folks that are looking at fall, here's how you're actually going to get started with the application. I'm not going to read everything out here. You are going to get a recording of this so you can go back and take a look. Pretty straightforward, but sometimes people do get misplaced and they wander off on an adventure of their own unexpected choosing. So straightforward, to open up an application for fall 2025 or spring 2026. You're going to identify MS in negotiation and conflict resolution. You will choose New York City as your location. That's the only location you can choose. And you're going to enter fall 2025 as your term of intake. It sounds pretty straightforward, but it can sometimes be easy for people to get misplaced. But that's how you do it. Now, in terms of what we're going to be looking for, if this is your first exposure to the US graduate application process, it is tempting to feel overwhelmed by what you're being asked to do. Our process, we think, is pretty straightforward. Hopefully it does make sense to you. I'm not going to describe every facet of it. I'm going to maybe just highlight some of the most important things for you to be aware of. So a couple of things to take into account. Our application is entirely online. All the materials must be received through our application portal. We don't accept materials via postal mail unless you can demonstrate that that is the only way that you can send your transcripts to us. We don't accept anything by carrier pigeons. Everything is online. So don't email us anything unless you've been asked to. Everything is submitted through the application portal. There is a $150 application fee that you would have to pay. You pay that when you submit the application, so you don't pay that to open the application. So you can go in this afternoon, click on and start to become familiar with what the application system looks like, but you're not going to pay the application fee until you're ready to submit. We do get asked about application fee waivers. We do not grant them. There are exceptions to this. So if you are an active or retired member of the U.S. Armed Forces, you will receive an application fee waiver. If you have completed service at one of several U.S. public service programs, that would also qualify you for an application fee waiver. Outside of that, we don't normally consider application fee waiver requests. If you feel like one is merited, you can contact us and request one, and we'll have a discussion with you about that. So let's get into the things that you're going to need to provide in your application. So you will need all of your transcripts. So We will ask for copies of your undergraduate transcripts. If you have graduated from a university inside the United States, your unofficial copy will be sufficient. Your unofficial copy is a copy that you have downloaded, that you have received, you've scanned. That's your copy. In the event of being admitted to the program and accepting your place, you will be asked to provide an official copy of your transcript. We're not going to need that for now, so you don't need to worry about it too much. However, if you have graduated from a university outside the United States that is not accredited by a US an accreditation body, you will need to provide something called a World Education Services evaluation. WES does two things for us. First, it confirms that your transcripts are real. The university you graduated from is a real one. That might sound weird to hear because you might think, well, yeah, of course I went to a real university. And of course you did. But we do sometimes have people attempting to pass fraudulent documents through. So they're going to do a little bit of verification work, but they'll also take your degree results. So if you've graduated from the UK and you achieved a first class honors degree, they're going to convert that into the US grading scale just so that we have an accurate understanding of what your credentials mean when they're applied to the US grading scale. We do require this at the beginning of the application process. So if you've graduated from university in Germany, Canada, yes, Canada, or any other country that's not the US, you're going to need your WES evaluation and you need to get started with that. It could take a couple of weeks for that process to complete. Depends a little bit on the bureaucracy of your host university. WES will normally take 2 weeks to turn around the reports once they've got your materials. There are some exceptions to this. I'm not going to get deep into it because it can become a confusing thing. But if you've done maybe a short period of study abroad, so let's say you have graduated from New York University and you spent maybe the fall semester at an institution in Italy, we're not going to need a WES for that because you've taken only a handful of credits. But if you've taken your undergraduate and or master's degree outside the US, we're going to need a WES for that. Now, if you've gotten confused by that explanation, you are forgiven. That's very understandable. You can reach out with your questions. I'll be happy to walk you through what you may or may not need based on what you've done so far. And even when people submit their applications, we will reach out sometimes and say, hey, you know, we need this. Sorry, we need it. So we're going to need a copy of your resume as well. That lets us give a bit of a better understanding of who you are and what your accomplishments are. We're not too concerned about the format, so it doesn't really matter if you choose to put education first or work experience first. We're not the CV police or the resume police, but just do make sure that that is an updated document. If we see there's maybe a 5-year gap between when you graduated from your undergraduate degree and from the first job that's listed in your resume or application, we're going to reach out and ask, you know, what happened in those 5 years. It might just be that you've got a ton of jobs and you just couldn't put it all in there. So we will ask for that. So try to avoid putting gaps in there because I will then reach out and that might pause the review of your application. And we don't really want to do that. We want to try to get your application through with as few speed bumps as possible. You're going to be asked to provide 2 letters of recommendation, not 1, not 3, not 25. We do get people asking if they can put like just an endless battery of recommendations through. 2 is enough. I'm not going to go through all of what you see at the bottom of this slide, but just to summarize, if you are in the final stages of your undergraduate degree, you must include 1 undergraduate letter of recommendation. That must come from a professor in a 4-credit class that you're currently taking at the university that you're graduating from. You can provide a second academic letter of recommendation if you want to, and I actually would advise that you do that. It's probably easier to do that. That second letter of recommendation should also come from a professor that's taken you for at least 1 semester's worth of classes, and that class can be found on your transcript. If you've taken a class where you're taking a class with a professor and it's nothing to do with your degree, it's just something that you self-initiated, that's not going to count. So academic references must be associated with classes we see in your transcript. If it's been a couple of years since you've been in school, that's absolutely fine. 2 professional letters of recommendation will work, and we would accept those from current or previous supervisors. We may consider a recommendation from a colleague if that's a colleague who you have worked with over an extended period of time at the same employer, and could talk about your strengths and some achievements that you have made while you've both worked at the same employer. We don't accept mentors unless they've worked with you and then maybe they've moved on or you've moved on, but you have shared a common employment experience. Otherwise, Uncle Bob from down the street is not a mentor that we can accept, I'm afraid. Albeit I'm sure he has many pearls of wisdom that he can share about your great accomplishments. All of those recommendations must be associated with an official organizational address. Please do not send Gmail, Hotmail, Outlook, Yahoo, or any other nearly expired sort of email domain from the 1990s that some of us still use. Personal emails are not accepted. We will make exemptions where someone has maybe retired. Someone might be an independent contractor and their personal email address is their business address. In cases like that, we will be in contact asking for additional supporting materials to help us accept that personal email. So sometimes it's just easier to go with someone that has an organizational email address. And I'm always happy to take questions about that. Okay, nearly done. A couple of other things that are important to this application. You're going to be asked to submit 2 short essays. One will be your statement of academic purpose. Some people might know this as the personal essay. It's the same thing. In this application, you will see very clear prompts about what we're looking for. You'll also see that highlighted in our program admissions page as well. The guidance is there because we're guiding you to provide the responses that we want to see. It's not a, hey, think about this, but you could also talk about some totally rad experience that you had instead. No, this is a direction. So please follow what's there. Sometimes people will not follow the prompt, and that will be detrimental to your candidacy. So what we're looking for is just evidence of program research. You can clearly articulate why this program appeals to you, why you're pursuing an application to the program. We like to see evidence of program research. So, maybe take a look at the websites, attend an information session like this. So that's a great start. Identify particular classes that appeal to you. Why does that class appeal to you? And then we also want to understand, what is your idea for the next couple of years? Where do you see your career going? How can the program bring you closer to achieving that objective? And that's what we're looking for. It gives us a great understanding of who you are and where you think you can go with this program, and also what kind of attributes and qualities that you will bring to the program as well. Because if you're admitted into the program, you'll be sitting with some extraordinary individuals who have great gifts to offer the program. So what kind of great offerings will you provide the program as well? And take that as a great challenge. Take that as an invite, not like a, yeah, what are you going to bring? Yeah, bro, what are you going to bring? It's really a great case for you to talk about why you should be considered for the program. You'll also have a short supplemental essay, and that's just going to ask you to describe the most significant professional challenge that you have faced. If you don't have much work experience, that is okay. You can substitute that to describe either a personal challenge or maybe a challenge that you've encountered during your academic experiences. You will be invited to an alumni interview. So as we get closer to concluding our application review, you will receive contact from Kirsten, who you see here on the screen. She will reach out with a friendly, and it's always very friendly because everyone's very friendly on our team. And that will be just an invitation to have a little time on your calendar where you'll speak with one of our graduates from the program. And that's just to get an additional bit of information about kind of like where you see yourself with the program and the attributes that you can offer. And always take this as an additional opportunity to just mount your strong candidacy to the program. Don't be intimidated by it. It's just a great opportunity to talk a little bit more about, yeah, this is why I'm interested in your program. And this is why I think I'd be a great part of your program.
And
There's a
David,
video, yep, sorry, yep. Go ahead.
sorry, I just wanted to add really quickly about the alumni interview. It's really nothing you need to prepare for. It is, as David said, a very, very brief interview. And when you log on, the alumni will walk you through the process. I get a lot of questions about that, and I tell everyone that exact same information. So it's, as David said, it's just another opportunity, and it's a really positive thing. So thank you, David.
Thank you, Kirsten. There's also going to be a video essay. This is also something that you can't really prepare for. Video essay is just a random question. There's 200 options. You're going to get one of them. they're never academic focused. They're not professions oriented. It's just really sort of more behavioral or kind of just personal interest. So it could be something like if you were a leader of your country for a day, what would be your first course of action? It could be, you know, what color best describes your personality type. So it's not something you can really prepare for. However, we are aware that people do try to prepare for this. They do try to use AI. They may have found a list of questions somewhere. And one thing about that is, you know, if you do that, we can see that. So it's pretty obvious. You might think it's pretty slick, pretty clear that we can see that you're trying to read off of something. So honestly, try not to do that because it will be identified and it could be grounds for rejection of your application, which is a shame because we've seen people try that and they are rejected because that's an act of academic that's an integrity issue. So be honest, be frank, be free. It's only 1 minute. What happens is you'll see your question. You'll be given 1 minute to prepare your response. Absolutely fine for you to write down a couple of bullet points just so that you don't forget anything. And then you have 1 minute to record your response. There's no stopping. So once you start the process, you have to complete the process all the way through. It's only 2 minutes. So 1 minute for the question and think of your response, 1 minute to deliver your response, and that's it. No big deal, but it's an important part of the process, just in terms of like giving us some insight into how you can answer a question without a prompt and how you can respond in a natural way. It just gives us a sense to see how you would speak or deliver an idea in an unprompted setting, or an unprepared setting, I should say. Last couple of things here. If English is not your first language, you will be asked to provide an IELTS or TOEFL score. You'll see our minimum requirements here towards the bottom. If you've completed all of your undergraduate degree where English was the language of instruction, a language waiver would apply. If you maybe did your undergraduate degree in China, but you did a master's degree in the UK, that will not qualify for an exemption. So it will apply to those who've completed all of their undergraduate degree. And the reason why we do that, but not with graduate degrees, is because undergraduate degrees are completed over a longer period of time. Graduate degree would be between 1 to 2 years, and that's not seen as quite long enough to determine English language proficiency. If you think a language waiver should apply to you and you're not quite sure how to direct that request, you can send it to me and I'll help you work that out. Finally, GMAT and GRE tests are optional. If you don't submit one, you are not going to be penalized. You don't lose points. But if you have taken either of those and your test is still valid, you might as well put that in with your application as well. Just one question that came through on transcripts and credentials. We are asking for undergraduate transcripts as a minimum just because not everybody has a master's degree. So that's our minimum academic threshold. If you have a master's degree, we do expect you to include that in your application as well. It also helps to give out additional information on your academic capabilities as well. And also the other thing about that could be that sometimes someone has done maybe not so well in the undergraduate degree. Maybe you've got like a 3.0 GPA or equivalent. It's been a couple of years since that time. You've done a master's degree in the past 2 or 3 years, and you have a substantially better showing in that master's degree. So that will become an important contextual piece of information that will help inform our admissions decisions. So that's pretty much it. A couple of things just to be clear about our deadlines. We just had our priority deadline in January 15th. If you didn't submit by that time, that's absolutely fine. We have a final deadline of May 1st. That's the deadline where you have to submit your application and all of the required materials must be received at that point. If you are an international student, you will be getting communications about our March 15th deadline. So just to clarify what that means, that is a suggested submit by date. So if you are, if you're not a US citizen, you're located somewhere else in the world, we suggest that you try to submit your application sooner, and that's just because you will have to contend with visa processes. And visa processing times can vary across the world. So that's just to give you a better chance to get your stuff in earlier, for us to return a decision sooner, and for you to have more time to get things in place if visa processing is a part of that. Final thing I'll say about the application, I should have said this at the start. We will review applications when they come through. So once your application is submitted, Once we've got all the materials that we need, we start that process, and it takes around 8 weeks to complete. So it's very possible that people submit the application, so maybe a West report, TOEFL report, maybe a recommender is slow in getting something through. So we need your application to be complete before we start to look at the full application file. We do rounds of outreach that let people know, hey, there's stuff missing in your application. Do you know? Here's what we need to do. If you've got questions, let us know. So we're always in touch just to make sure that if you're missing something, we will catch you and let you know, so that sometimes people aren't aware of it. So we'll just make sure that if something is missing, it's not going to go for too long before you're like, oh my God, I didn't know. And we can help you resolve that. We're just about the end of our time. We've got a couple more pages to share with you. Just to confirm, if you do have questions about your application, send it through to the email address that you see here at the top. This is the primary admissions contact address for all admissions questions within the negotiation program. If you've got questions where maybe you want to address the questions for our program team, you've got some program content specific questions, you can also send those questions here, and we send them through to the program team as well. We have our presence on social media, so you can join us on LinkedIn, you can join us on Facebook, as well as Instagram as well. And that's pretty much it. We are at the end of our hour. We don't really have much time for questions, but if someone has one question that's burning and they want to get that out, you have 30 seconds to get that through. Otherwise, we'll conclude the webinar, and thank you very much for your time. So I'll just leave the holding slide here for a moment for you to grab our contact address. Otherwise, thank you very much for taking time to be with us. Thank you for taking some time to hear from our wonderful panelists, hear from our team, and we hope to hear from you over the coming weeks and months ahead.